Labour MEP Richard Corbett, who's leader of the European Parliamentary Labour Party, who was in on the meeting yesterday. Now, first of all, this resolution that's going to be put to conference, what does it actually say?
Well, it says very clearly that Labour should oppose a bad, damaging Tory Brexit deal, which is what we look as though we're going to be faced with. We are also firmly opposed to leaving without a deal, because that's a cliff edge,
so no
legal
deal,
limbo, catastrophe scenario. So if we reject the deal and we're not in favour of leaving without a deal, then you have to look at the other options. Now, we would hope there's a general election, of course. With the Fixed Term Parliament Act, that's far from being certain. But it does say all other options should be on the table, which includes a public vote, of course.
It doesn't specify what that public vote is.
I mean, it's on Brexit. So
yeah, but I mean, should it, in your view, have the option of remaining, or should it be like John McDonnell says, not have the option of remaining?
Well, in my view, and I think that's the overwhelming majority of delegates here, that should include the option of remaining, because otherwise, if you reject the deal and it means leave without a deal, we've already said we're against leaving without a deal. That's a catastrophe scenario. So if this is the deal, you reject it, you don't want to leave without a deal.
So why are John McDonnell and Jeremy Corbyn so resistant to that idea?
Well, there is a theoretical possibility that you could renegotiate a different deal, of course, especially if there were a general election and we came to power and a new government.
But you don't feel, which they seem to feel, that they are duty-bound because of the referendum result in 2016 to get Britain out before we try and...
Well, Labour has always been very respectful of that result, but what is now emerging is that the Brexit that is emerging now is very different from what was promised by the Leave campaign at the time. They said it would be easy. It's looking pretty difficult. They said it would save lots of money that would all go to the NHS. It's actually costing a fortune. They said there'd be shiny new trade deals ready from day one to replace any lost trade with Europe. They're not materialising. In fact, unless you're a fan of chlorinated chickens, they look positively dodgy.
Now, what is wrong with a Canada-style relationship between the UK and the European Union? It works for Canada, apparently.
We would be outside the customs union. Canada is not integrated in a single market the way we are, with supply chains going across borders. If we leave the customs union, you have customs checks. Under WTO rules, you have to, on the border, even if you manage to get zero tariffs, because we've got to check the origin of goods. That disrupts supply chains for our importers, our exporters,
would be more tariff barriers.
Manufacturers. It's a nightmare. It would be a real hit to the UK economy.
How can you be confident of that? Because we're told, that's just Project Fear.
Well, talk not to politicians, talk to any manufacturer that has cross-border supply chains. Automobile, aviation, agriculture, just to name the ones beginning with A. You can go right the way through to Z.
And what about the other option, which is out there of Norway, of being in the European Economic Area?
Yes, that avoids much of that problem if you had Norway plus customs union. But of course, this comes back to the central dilemma of Brexit. If you distance yourself, you have a huge economic hit. If you stay close inside the single market, inside the customs union, you have to follow the rules, but without, if you're not a member, having a say on those rules anymore.
Do you see
neither options is actually very
trade
appealing.
Deals we could do with the rest of the world, we keep on being told?
Well, that's another dimension of leaving. If you leave the customs union, you're leaving the trade deals the EU already has with countries across the world that we've negotiated as Europe with the full clout of the world's largest market behind us. We would have to negotiate or renegotiate those just as Britain, with no guarantee that we can roll over those existing deals, let alone improve on them.
Mr. Corbett, thank you very much indeed. And a reminder